Greetings from our mom's basement. It's episode 3 of Looks Rare podcast. Tonight I'm joined by Mr. Due Diligence, Punk Vandalay, our fearless producer, Pep, the world's first and only NFT economist, Zinc, the Chad himself, Plum. He always sells the top, Deb, and the degenerate, So. Welcome, gents. It's Sunday night right now, and we're in the midst of a pretty massive NFT pump. The pump we've all been waiting for, the end of the year, the post-Christmas pump. Pretty much the floors of all the main projects are going up, and it seemed to be on the tail of this whole SOS drop. You know, Deb, what do you think the cause of all this is? How are you feeling about this pump? Do you think it's going to last?
So I was away, I haven't been on my phone that much today, but when I read all the messages by Plum in DMs there, I saw him buying Fidenzas, some toads and, stuff started pumping. I'm not sure if it's really real because I saw KBM buying up the floors. So I'm not really sure if it's organic or if it's just, some big players buying up the floor and hoping that that projects might pump. So I'm still up in the air. It's like a part of me feels that it's a dead cat bounce, and then we're going to go lower, but I'm not 100% sure. I think I'm going to wait a bit.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell. I agree. I mean, it's super exciting. And the Toads floor almost doubled in like a few hours. Plum, you bought a Fidenza today. Tell us about that. Or was it today you got it?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on it, and I've been trying to trade an X copy for it. Never worked out. The guy who I was going to trade is on a trip, and something's wrong with his ledger, so it never worked out. And then I was looking at this one that was on the floor for 66, and the next ones are all over 80. And I really like this one, actually. I do. And I was like, someone's going to buy it, and then the floor is going to be higher. So I don't know if the guy's going to trade with me anymore. So I thought I'd just go for it. Was not expecting the market to change like this. So I'm obviously I'm happy about that. But let's see how this pump does with art blocks, so far the profile pictures are pumping, but not so much generative art. I mean, I'm still happy about my buy, and I just bought something I liked.
I think I saw that 2 more were bought right around the same time, right? So did the floor move up on Fidenzas?
The previous 2 were part of that KBM thing where the guy got hacked and he bought it back. And then there was my buy, and there's no buys after me yet.
I didn't hear about the keyboard monkey thing. What happened there?
Oh, yeah. So username Bro Jackson on Discord, he got hacked and he lost 2 Fidenzas. Keyboard monkey bought one of them and another guy bought the other one. And then he bought them back for how much they paid for it, which is kind of shitty. But he bought them back. That was the 2 previous sales. Yeah, and I was thinking, maybe this one is not selling because people are confused about what's going on, because those 2 were pretty high-tier Fidenzas, and they were selling for lower than floor price. Maybe that's causing some confusion. The other sales were not organic sales. If you look at
it looks like the floor right now is 83. So, I mean, you got yours for 66?
Yeah.
Nice.
But nothing has actually sold for no floors have sold for that level for a while. The real volume during the past couple of weeks were 50 or 60.
Yeah, and, there was one for 49, it looks like.
Yeah, it was quite a disaster. Those couple ones for around 50 were nice buys. But I like mine. And I think there's, a little bit more certainty about when I bought it. Because back then there was a lot less, it was pretty hopeless, right? Now there's signs of hope, yeah.
I had 105 ETH bid on mine, I want to say 2 weeks ago, and I was starting to feel pretty dumb for not accepting it.
Wait, 2 weeks? Only 2 weeks ago?
Well, maybe 3 weeks. I don't know. Time goes by so fast here, but ago? It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, not long for sure. Yeah.
It was probably early December, when there was that pump with everything.
Yeah. Not long at all, man.
So I think this pump, we were talking off air that, it seemed like it actually started maybe with the CryptoPunks floor moving up quite a bit all of a sudden. Right when apes flipped punks, it lasted less than 24 hours, thankfully, because I had a 1 ETH bet, but it had to be for 24 hours, 2 ETH bet, had to be for 24 hours. So I think I'm still safe. And then right after the ape floor went above Punk's floor, Punk's kind of rocketed up. And then right after that, the whole SOS thing came out, it seems like, and then everything kind of went crazy. So Zinc, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on that. Do you think AB art blocks will come after? Do you think this pump is going to last more than a day or 2, or what do you think's going on?
I think the kind of interesting thing with this first is there was just this sentiment that everyone was just going to, tax loss harvest all the way to the end of the year. And we're going to see this, massive deals. And so I think people have been just kind of waiting for okay, if I wait some longer, then floors are going to keep on falling and all these people are going to get desperate. But I think really most of the big buyers, they've already settled their tax situation. None of these guys are waiting until the last day to get that stuff sorted out, right? So then, you're right, like CryptoPunk started pumping the SOS, which injected a ton of liquidity. Someone was talking about, maybe it was Pep that was talking about, this is kind of like, a lot of DeFi people and coin people bought this SOS token and drove it quite up. And that was a huge drop for a lot of like big collectors. We have a lot of like, kind of free Christmas money now to spend on NFTs. But then also I think this is like the first pump we've seen where people kind of understand how to use Genie and can actually start sweeping floors very easily. So like, if we think back into the summer or the early pumps in the spring, people had to manually do this stuff. It was hard to buy a lot. Now you're seeing buys that are of 10, 20, 30 things going up at once, right? And these floors are so thin. A 20 thing buy can just like, just tear through the floors. Or you just saw that with toads. You see this in someone buying 10 toads just tears through the floor, right? So I kind of agree with Deb. There's still maybe some aspect to this. It might be a dead cat bounce, but, there's so many other things at play that, I can see this being the spark that just kind of launches us back into something a little bit more crazy. We have Coinbase. We have these other kind of bullish things that we're expecting to happen. Maybe I just think there was just a lot of pent up demand. People were just waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, this is like the signal. Okay, get back in the market.
That's a good point with the whole Genie thing, the being able to buy the floor. I hadn't really thought about that part, but I've sort of been waiting to try that out. I haven't done it yet. I've used it just to use it, but I haven't used it to snatch up a floor. But it does make it a lot more tempting. Like you said, with toads, like when the toads floor hit almost 2, maybe even below 2. And just to put 10 ETH in and get 5 toads real quick and just snatch up the floor, it seems like a pretty easy way to pump it. So, Van, I was going to ask you as well. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this pump today?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what we needed. I think all of us were starting to feel that, with the bear cycle going on for a while. But like it was mentioned before, I think the SOS, airdrop definitely helped. We got an injection of funds for people to start aping projects with. Along with that, I think the biggest thing is, I think sweeping the floors, all that action was caused by, I think there's a lot of speculation that the Coinbase platform will be dropping pretty soon here, sometime in January or Feb, with that coming, there's an expectation that there's going to be a lot more money flowing into our ecosystem. So with that, it's a smart play. Sweep, while everything is undervalued. And then, once the money comes in, that's where you can make your gains later.
Right. It's funny how the specter of Coinbase is kind of there, but sometimes it almost like doesn't seem to matter, right? Like it was there a week ago and no one really seemed to care, but now all of a sudden it's like, oh, Coinbase is coming, let's pump it. We're all sitting at home and grandma gave us a Christmas card with $100 in it and we're spending it now. So what do you think's going on?
A lot of people have their taxes in order and looking to speculate with some additional free funds courtesy of SOS airdrop and so many deals on proven winners, right? Like toads, fidenzas, and punks. Obviously, I think it makes sense for people to start speculating at these prices.
You guys think what about the fact that ETH has sort of been sideways for quite a while now? I mean, I think that usually helps when there's some stability in the price. It's basically been 4,000 roughly for as long as I can remember, honestly. And so that I feel like that always helps because you're not constantly repricing things. And then you're not worried about, spending ETH and worrying that the next day it's going to shoot up a ton. It doesn't really look like it's going to shoot up real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. In fact, I was going to say that actually, it's been my theory for a while that I told you guys before that I think NFTs pumping have to do with alt to ETH ratio. You get some couple times during the year where meme coins or alts get a little bit ahead before the large caps. And that's when you can sell, some alts and sell some other coins into ETH and have that bit of free capital to buy NFTs. I think we might be in one of those times because that's how I partially funded my Fidenza buy. I sold some meme coins, the ratio is pretty favorable now. That's been my theory for a while.
I have a total different reason why people are buying in right now. I have a feeling it's the holidays are almost over, right? It's December 26th here, Boxing Day. and I have a lot of friends and family, they're all shopping on Amazon and they're buying a lot of stuff on special. And I think a lot of the people buying NFTs right now are crypto natives. And instead of them going on Amazon and buying, let's say, a computer or whatever, it's like they want to buy something as well, but instead of buying in real life, they want to buy NFTs. I saw my mom, I saw my sister buying stuff on Amazon. And I'm like, instead of buying something in real life, I'm going to buy some NFTs. So
yeah, dude,
that's what
I agree. I feel the same way. Like I've been kind of busy with work and stuff, but I feel like before the year's over, I want to buy myself like a treat, and I don't even know what it's going to be, but it's going to be an NFT. It's not going to be something on Amazon. And yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of us who have, even with some recent losses, have still done well. And, it's Christmas time. Usually you buy stuff and there's, it's kind of like there's a sale too. The prices are still pretty low compared to where they were a month ago. The biggest topic, I think, of the last few days is the whole OpenDAO and the SOS airdrop. If you've been in a cave for the last 4 days and don't know what I'm talking about, basically OpenDAO, sort of in a response to the fact that OpenSea doesn't have a token and everyone's hoping it will. And there's rumors that they're going to go public, which hasn't been confirmed, but it'll probably happen, in which case they won't have a token. These people created a DAO and said, look, we're going to reward everyone who has any volume on OpenSea, and based on your volume, we'll give you a proportionate amount of the token, and you can go on our site and claim it. And they have some absurdly large, I think it's 100 trillion circulation. And they have a little graph saying where they're going to give it. 50% of it is airdropped to the community. And then 20% the team keeps, 10% is LP incentive, and 20% is staking incentive. So obviously, it's fun to go on there for a few reasons. You get to see your volume on OpenSea, which is kind of fun. And it seems like the numbers are a little screwy, and maybe we can get into that. I don't quite believe what I'm seeing. And then obviously you want to get your tokens, and then you can claim them. And then, of course, the price action has been interesting. It shot up initially, and it's been pretty volatile. It almost seems like it's super widely distributed, and there's a ton of people who have claimed, and it almost seems like it's a lot of people's first experience at getting free monies. And that's always a fun experience to get free money.
I think that the biggest thing is that wideness of distribution. So like obviously people with the most volume, which was buy and sell volume, it did help if you sold a lot this year as well. But I think that wideness of distribution, right? Like you think about other meme coins, which is for the most part is trading like, you have just this huge amount of people that have it, right? So it's easy to talk to other people about it because everyone knows already what it is, and it had this ridiculously high claim rate, right? So within the first couple of days, you had over 50% of the tokens claimed, which I think kind of tells you a lot about the NFT market itself, that it's people that have kind of stuck around. There is this worry that people are leaving. But if you've been, on OpenSea for the last 4 years, it does seem like there's a good chance that you're still here, still ready to claim your tokens. To me, like those are like the perfect elements for a meme run. Now, whether they can do anything with it, I think there's been some people that say that they're going to use it as a currency to sell their artwork. And I guess there's some exchange that you can stake it at but it's like an exchange no one's heard of. So like there's, maybe there's something going on there, but just that wideness, there doesn't need to be much of a use case for a Shiba or a Doge or these other things for people to want to buy and trade them, right? So there's that potential, I think, with this. Now, personally, I've sold mine, so I'm kind of out of the game, but I think there's still that potential for the meme coin run.
Yeah, my personal thoughts are I'm just going to ride this one out because at least for now, I didn't really want to sell anything before January 1st. And then I'm going to hang on to it and just kind of see where it goes. I do feel like, big chance it goes to zero like a lot of these things do over time. But there is a lot of potential. I mean, like I've heard of artists already selling their stuff in SOS to kind of support it. And I could see someone coming up with a platform for NFTs that only takes SOS, sort of as like an FU to OpenSea.
Yeah, I just think the whole claiming is genius. I really think like, at least initially, most of the people were just curious to see like how much they spend. And like the bigger wallets wanted to like flex that snapshot at the end, I think that was genius. And then obviously later people were claiming it because then it's worth something. But for the first couple of days, there weren't even the first, not couple of days, first like 1 day or so, it wasn't even trading. I personally just claimed it just out of curiosity. And then, it's a pleasant surprise that it's worth something.
You guys know, like, I'm curious, maybe Pep knows, I'm curious who supply the initial liquidity for it, because that's a risky move. Like when something like this gets on SushiSwap, obviously someone has to put in the initial ETH. And I'm curious, like, who the people were who did that. Were there like a couple Chads that just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do this," or was it more organic?
I think the returns to being the early guys is huge. Because you have a ability to set the price. These guys converted a lot of their SOS into ETH, I'm sure.
It just seems risky though, with all these people getting free money and you have all this ETH sitting in the pool. It just seems to me like it could get drained so fast, and then you're just stuck holding these crappy tokens that are worthless.
What do you think? I saw there's a couple of artists that they're planning to launch on the OpenDAO platform. Do you think it's going to be a success, or do you think this is just going to die down?
I don't know. It kind of feels to me like Loot in a way. Like, you remember how Loot came out and it was kind of ingenious for how simple it was, and how, I mean, that wasn't an airdrop, but the whole point was like anyone can build on it. It'll be amazing. And, it's not dead or anything, but it's kind of in a lull. And it almost kind of feels like that. Like they're just selling potential, but they haven't done anything, and things aren't going to happen overnight. So I don't know how that's going to work out.
I'm curious if they pull something like Sushi, because Sushi was a success. So if they could do something, if they could follow on the path of Sushi, that would be awesome.
They don't have anything yet. That's the thing. It's just, there's no platform or anything like that. It's just some artists said they would take it as payment. That's the huge risk here, right? It's just purely a meme so far.
It's just quite genius how the whole idea, how they executed it. Because like Zinko was saying, like, if you look at it as a meme coin, there's nothing like it that's ever happened before. You have 200,000 holders in a couple of days. You have like a social with 100,000 followers, and you've got crazy volume. If this was actually a proper meme coin, I think it should move even higher.
Yeah, the volume is insane. I mean, I tweeted that, Apple's 24-hour volume was 80 million, and that this was 140 million. And then someone corrected me that, well, you're talking about shares, not US dollar amount. So obviously Apple's more than that, but whatever. It's still 80 million shares of Apple versus 140 million column shares of this. And the fact that it's even close to that is nuts.
Okay, another question for you, actually, talking about SOS. If you were in charge right now, right, part of the team, because, we're all into NFTs, how would you grow this into a success? Like, what are the steps? Like, how are you going to onboard our artists? How are you just going to?
I mean, I think a lot of it would depend on your connections, whoever's behind it. But like, if they came to us and said, "Hey, you guys, what do you want to do? We need help," I would get the artists we know, really try to make it about the artists. And I mean, obviously Xcopy might be out of reach, but if we could get Coldy and Xcopy and Hackatow and whoever else, like some of these big names, and get them, they would sort of have to share the ethos of like saying F you to OpenSea in a way. I mean, I feel like that's sort of what this is about. Not that they hate OpenSea, but it's just, I don't know. It just, like, the fact that OpenSea is kind of going corporate and might go public. This is sort of like an alternative to that, right? It's more Web3, if you want to call it that. And I think there's a lot of people that would support that mission. And then imagine if Xcopy sold art exclusively on their platform, exclusively for SOS token. I mean, that would be massive.
Yeah, again, though, I think it really depends. They've been very clear about what they're actually building. So like there's a percentage of the DAO that's supposed to help people for a number of different things, support artists and support people who got rugged by, hacks and stuff like that. But I don't think they're building anything. I think this literally is just a token. I don't think it's like an easy feat to just develop a new marketplace, because obviously everyone who's tried has, I would say, failed pretty miserably. Outside of OpenSea, like, who does any volume at all? Like Super Rare has their only, corners a little bit of market because they have the exclusive top artists in the space. And maybe, KO is probably, I don't really see very much from KO. And then you're seeing like, there's a bunch of these other ones that are building something like Maker's Place, Foundations, Zora, right? But again, like these aren't part of my daily routine. I don't think I ever check these, maybe not even once a week. Obviously building a marketplace is something that everyone wants to build, this OpenSea killer. But for some reason that just, there's something simple about OpenSea, I think, that still draws everyone there. That's, again, all these other marketplaces have way too many bells and whistles. Raribles, probably the worst case scenario for this. Way too many bells and whistles. So hard to like find anything, and none of the information you want is presented to you. The OpenSea is very, 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 they have 3 metrics or 4 metrics that throw up on the screen that just list the stuff. Looks ugly, but it's there and it's very usable. And so, I know we all get mad at it, and I know there's obviously anger at them for not kind of being Web3 enough, but like, I don't know why it's so hard for people to like find another way to do this.
Why is Rary so bad? I mean, you can't even fucking search on it. And then when you do search, it brings up like the 3 scam things before it brings up the one you're looking for. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, both are terrible searches. Sometimes you can't even get the verified collection, and you'll have 3 fake collections before you can see it, right? So they're both really bad on the search. Yeah, I don't understand Rarible, and I find Rarible a little laggy too because they're trying to load so many things. It's just a pain to just do anything on. So why would you spend any time there?
Such a wasted potential, Rarible.
It really is. I was on Spaces today, and it was actually a fun one, but there was a bunch of people talking about SOS and stuff, and there were some newbies on there. And one person kind of said, hey, like, I like using a credit card. You can use it on Rarible. And I had to interrupt it. I'm like, whoa. Like, do not use your credit card on Rarible. That site is such trash. Like, can you imagine?
Man, the signature of Rarible is the perpetual bits. Like, I still have some bits on there that are still there. Like, literally, your bit is going to stay there forever as long as you have wrapped these in your wallet.
There was something about that with the wrapped punks where if you didn't delist, what was the deal? Do you guys remember that? There was some kind of thing where if you took it off the platform but didn't delist it, and then you put it back on there, it could be sold like instantly. Like it never actually takes the bid down.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a couple of things like that. But yeah, I agree with what Stink was saying. Yeah, I think it's going to be really hard to come up with a better platform. I mean, like, I actually think OpenSea is pretty good. Like, people complain all the time. And now after today's pump, it's like sort of half down, like sometimes really laggy, but it's a pretty good platform, man. Like, I'm sure it's not easy to build a platform like this. But at the same time, the SOS, they can build on that narrative, though. They can say, we're working on it. And that can drive the coin to like insane levels, because that's pretty much what every other crypto is doing, right?
Do you think there's a way that another platform that could be more centralized even, let's say somebody's working on one, let's say even Coinbase, it probably wouldn't be Coinbase, but someone less corporate than that. But let's say someone's about to come out with some great platform from a UI perspective, but their issue is they want to get users. It almost seems like they could use this token as a way to get users somehow.
Exactly, 100%. Like, they built something with serious value here. Yeah, it's access. It's worth more than whatever the market cap is right now.
I think this is like kind of with crypto and NFTs, it kind of shows it because it's smaller communities. Like, I know people talk about the decentralization. It's almost a meme at some level. This sort of thing where it's so easy to coordinate a lot of people when everyone has the same thing. And so, with this SOS, like, why would you use a different token if you know that 200,000 people have, decent bags of it, right? That's a community you can tap into immediately. None of that community knows anything about each other, right? They're not even directed really by any sort of centralized thing. They can do whatever they want with their tokens and they can move them around. I was thinking about this with with crypto and NFTs and stuff. And the main gain here is not like how, say, a creator can connect with their audience. There's lots of ways centralized systems can allow creators to connect with audience members. But the best thing, I think, with crypto and NFTs is that it allows the audience to kind of find each other, and then they start to build stuff independent of the initial creator, right? And I think, this is the thing, I think, when people argue with the Web3 stuff and whether what's better or worse, Web3 versus Web2, is everyone's always thinking about, how do I, as the creator or the corporation or the centralized person, how do I, interact with all the consumers? And that's a real one directional relationship. And it kind of misses that whole flatness of what happens when all the consumers just want to interact with each other and they don't really care about you anymore. And that's, I think, where all the kind of cool stuff gets built. It's like, it's not necessarily the people that originally created the stuff. It's what happens when everyone kind of gets together. So
I think it's a good segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was, I think it started with Jack's tweet the other day about Web3. Basically, the gist of it was he was saying that the Web 1 came out and, it was initially promised to be this peer-to-peer, decentralized, censorship-resistant network, started in like universities and was very kind of grassroots. And then, of course, we all see what happened with the initial internet. It was co-opted basically by Google and a few other big companies. Not that obviously there's lots of great things about the internet, but it didn't really turn out the way we hoped. And then Web 2 came along with user-generated content, things like YouTube, obviously, in its early days was a lot different than it is now before it was owned by Google. And then you had things like, blogging sites, and then you had MySpace. And then, of course, Facebook came along and just demolished it all and just kind of took over the whole thing. So this is like the third iteration of it, Web 3. And it's like, no, this time it really is going to be decentralized and censorship resistant, and we're not going to have these big corporations control it. And I think Jack's point was like, are you sure about that? Because I'm looking around and all I see is a bunch of VC funding, and it really doesn't look like it's going to be anything different. And you guys are pretty fucking naive.
I don't know, man. There's like two sides to the story, but in certain, let's say, for example, a Uniswap. If you want to vote to pass a proposal, you need a lot of Uni, which you need to be a whale, or you need to be a VC that got a lot of Uniswap tokens. So I could see where he's coming from, but there are other projects which are more decentralized, let's say, and it's more equal to holders.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily take it as FUD. It was more, he just brings up very valid points, and we have to be careful. And we are kind of fooling ourselves if we think this is just going to magically happen on its own.
I think I totally agree because, like you said, with the other examples, like Web 1 is actually quite decentralized. There's almost no authority that tells you who can make a web page. And so anyone can make a web page, anyone can make a blog. Right. And then the one big tool that came out of Web 1 was email. And so I remember 6529 come up with this whole idea that email is, one of these killer apps of the internet, of the original internet. And no one really owns the protocol. The protocol is a decentralized protocol that everyone can tap into. And that just isn't the case once corporations kind of got control of the internet. There's nothing that's stopping us even now from creating a decentralized Twitter, say, or decentralized sending of short messages. But right now, because everyone uses Twitter, then you get shut down if you want to do anything with it. And I don't know if you guys remember early days of Twitter, but there was a million like apps that you could add on to your Twitter usage that could change. Like the API was basically free for anyone to use. And then they just shut it all down, and it just destroyed, I think, a lot of the experience of Twitter. Became this very kind of dull, single-use type thing. There were so many other fun things people were doing with Twitter before. I think this is key, right? Like Web3 doesn't give us necessarily, guarantee us decentralization. We have to kind of create it ourselves. But I also think like Jack's completely wrong when it comes to is like moving back to Bitcoin is like the only solution, because like if you're going to build on top of Bitcoin, it's going to have the same issues there too. You're going to have people controlling more or less Bitcoin, or, most apps aren't necessarily going to be built right into the crypto thing, and Bitcoin doesn't have smart contracts. It's going to be a second layer that's going to have to run all the apps anyways. And all that stuff could be run centralized and just have an entry access point to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin doesn't really solve these questions, right? This is a purely cultural thing.
Yeah, I saw a good response to the Bitcoin argument in the tweet thread from somebody, I can't remember who it was, and it basically said, whatever the fact is, I want to say it's like 0.01% of wallets owns 20% of all the Bitcoin, or something ridiculous. So Bitcoin's actually ridiculously centralized if you look at it that way. I mean, I think the Winklevoss twins own over 1% of it.
Yeah. So the issue isn't that, like, sure, Bitcoin, the protocol itself is going to remain decentralized, and that's hard. But, we want to use the internet for more things than to move money around. The other things, if you were to build on Bitcoin, you're going to have the exact same issues that, say, you have with Ethereum. The fact that Uniswap is owned by a bunch of VCs, or I don't know if this is actually the case, but a particular DApp is owned by a bunch of VCs has nothing to say about Ethereum, right? It's something that was built on top of it, and so that problem arises even though it's Ethereum's quite decentralized. These things are a cultural thing that we have to kind of create before the corporations come and take everything over, not something that's just going to come naturally out of Web3.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is if Coinbase came along, or when they do come along and open up their NFT marketplace, for example, I imagine over 90% of the users are just going to keep it custodial, and they will never take their NFTs off the platform. But you have the option to. So for the people that really care and really want to, you're always going to be able to take your NFT and put it wherever you want. And it's not like it's going to be censored by Coinbase. I guess they could censor it on their marketplace, but then you could go somewhere else and use another marketplace. So there's always this balance, right? I mean, for there to be a good UI and for there to be a lot of adoption, it has to be centralized to some degree so that it actually works and is actually appealing. But as long as there's an ability to kind of take it off, like if you look at Top Shot, until you can take your moments off of Top Shot, I don't really view it as an NFT. It's just a centralized marketplace that is purely custodial. And I don't really feel a sense of ownership right now. It's just a kind of a promise that eventually you'll be able to take it off.
I think one way to look at the Web3 thing is that if you look at the creative economy, it's actually kind of hard for corporations to control. And like if you look at the speed at which some of the things in NFTs have taken off, like it took less than 6 months for apes to become this big, for cons to become this big. And then if you look at those, that also took a crazy short amount of time. Like how can VCs and, centralized corporations be able to get into all of these things before they become big, So I think that's like one argument that supports decentralized Web3.
It almost sounds like you're saying they can be our exit liquidity.
The speed at which things are developing is hard to, because what VCs do in, traditional VCs, they would just invest in pretty much all the startups, and then a lot of them would fail. And the ones that they'll get, they won't miss any of the ones that would become big eventually, that would win whatever field that they are building in. But it's a little bit hard to do the same approach in the creative economy, right? Because the speed at which you take off is just too fast. It's too fast. Like in the blink of an eye, like everybody in the world is talking about Bored Apes, for example. At which stage are VCs supposed to get into that? I mean, now they can still buy a big chunk of it because the overall market cap of NFTs is really low. But, as you progress and as the overall market cap gets bigger, it's going to be hard for them to contain everything, right?
That's a good point. I haven't really thought about it that way, but that kind of gives me more hope that, they're just not going to be nimble enough to keep up with everything. And there's always going to be something like Toads that'll come out where a big corporation isn't going to get it, and they certainly aren't going to get it fast enough. So I think there's probably room for. It's not like it's going to be the demise of the whole space if these corporations come in. They're coming, and in some ways it's good, but it's not going to be perfect either.
Oh, I just think also too that like this is it's a weird argument because we know with how things previously are. There is intense centralization. There's intense concentration into VC's hands and into a few people's hands that control these companies, which control most of the internet. So like, yeah, sure. Like we can worry about Web3 maybe falling down the same path, but at the same time, there's still structures in Web3 that are just very different than in Web2 that allow you to opt out from these things. And you can like take your NFTs and go home, right? Like that is something that you just simply can't really do with, like, if suppose this NFTs were invented on the Facebook, Instagram marketplace, then they could revert transactions. They can take any fees they want. They could block any users they want, right? So I think this is like, yeah, sure, these people are raising alarms about it. I don't know if it's always sincere because in the end, they're defending kind of the old system, which we know is just completely not in favor of creators and new people, right? And it's heavily biased towards people with the few people that have control. So, I think, yeah, for sure, criticize parts of Web3 and criticize parts, not everything's super decentralized, but, we're still moving in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, well said. I agree. I'm ready to move on to our year-end awards. I'm excited about this one. You guys get some time to think about who you're going to pick here?
I did for sure, man.
Nice.
Yeah,
all right. So we're going to start. The first year-end award goes to the best PFP project. I'll go first. You guys might be surprised, but I picked Bored Apes because I look at it as for the year, not the best project ever, but the best PFP project because I feel like Apes was the very first, dedicated PFP project, and you just can't deny the success they've had and the innovation they've brought to the space. Mostly good. I would say some bad, but mostly good. And so that's my pick. And my worst PFP is going to be Chad's. There's a lot of worse ones out there, but Chad's is a pretty hard one to beat, I feel. All right, Van, what do you think? What do you got?
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point with the apes. I think what the apes, they've done really well recently, but if we take the whole year, which we're looking at here for 2021, I think it's still punks. The punk started off very strong in the beginning of the year, and I think a lot of that has been forgotten. But
yeah, I don't consider punks a PFP. I guess that's why I didn't put them in there. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people do. I don't view them as that because.
Yeah, definitely. It could be viewed in different ways, but we're using them as PFPs quite a bit, and we have a lot of prominent voices on Twitter that are punks, and but I think this has all been said before, and I think it's a little bit boring giving punks the number one spot. So I think I'm going to actually go with Doodles. The reason for it, I think for it has very clean artwork, and I love how it has a distinct style, and some people hate that floating eye, but I think, that makes Doodles, which is kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah, Doodles are cool. That's a good pick. I like that pick. How about your worst one?
My worst one, there's so many bad ones, right? I probably should take a peek at my hidden items to see what the worst one is.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
But it has to be Alien Boys, right?
Oh man, Alien Boys.
And
I
hate to dump on a project, but it just looked like bad clip art.
Oh my God.
And I'm surprised we made some money off this one, but
I remember when we were aping, we all aped into those together. It was so funny. I think I made like 3 or 4 ETH off those.
Man, it was hilarious. I was going to nominate for the best PFP project, man. Remember we're all using the brown bag as our PFP? That's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently
that was great, actually, the brown bag. That was the best thing.
That was good. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Plum, are you seriously picking Alien Boys as your best PFP of the year?
Yeah.
Just go with it. All right.
Yeah, okay, I might go with it. Yeah, I might go with it. It's
all right, then what's your worst one?
My worst one? My worst one has to be Bored Apes. No, I'm just kidding. No, Bored Apes, like, it's undeniable, like that, it's, I accept it. It's people, the engagement that you get with Bored Apes on social media is just mind-blowing, although it's not all great engagement.
Does hey, what happened to my seed phrase count as engagement?
Yeah, that's too hilarious. That's just hilarious. But I enjoyed, like, at one point we were all using the apes as PFPs. It was pretty cool. Like, in the beginning, it was pretty cool, right? Like, even you said you liked the people in there. It was top shot people, like a lot of artists, a lot of creatives, interesting people. And then as it got more expensive, maybe just became sort of like this, like it got a bit more tacky, a bit more like loud.
Shout out to AG. He had a great tweet about how they're the Von Dutch of the NFT scene.
Exactly. Yeah, like Gucci mixed with LV.
All right, Pep, what are your choices? You got the best and the worst PFP.
Best, I mean, it'd be easy for me to say Bored Apes or something else that you've said. I think I like Cool Cats a lot because I think after Bored Apes, Cool Cats kind of demonstrated to us that there's more scope for this profile pic thing, right? Like Bored Apes kind of set the stall, and okay, you can make a dedicated profile pic project, but then I think Cool Cats was really the next thing to get real traction in a Bored Ape fashion. The worst, I really dislike fluffs. Something about the fluffs. Like,
what are fluffs?
You don't know the fluffs, no? Okay, let me pull those up. So Ledger Status, who presents the podcast with Kobe, the Up Only podcast, he's big on these. I think they were really big on crypto Twitter for a minute. They are some ugly. There we go.
Oh God, they look like furries.
They're extremely creepy.
Yeah, they're very creepy. I think that's the word.
Nice. All right, Zink, let's hear your choices.
I'm going to have to agree with Pep about the Cool Cats. I think, obviously ripping mine, and I think there's just a cool story there. The artist has been working on them for so long. So like this is kind of a place where, the artist had actually been able to find a home for his art. I don't think, do we know very much? I don't know anything about the artist's story and background. It feels more of a corporation for the Bored Apes, right? And like punks aren't really like your pixel art, right? So it's a completely different thing. So I feel like with Cool Cats, like you have that much deeper connection with the artist. And I also think with Cool Cats, in terms of like influencing the rest of the space, I feel like the dark lined outline and the simplicity make them very good as profile pictures. You can very easily see kind of what they are. They fit really well. So all those reasons, like obviously Bored Apes and Punks have crazy amounts of volume and influence, and they are number 1 and 2 for a reason. But I think like in terms of like an actual profile pic that makes sense in a Twitter or kind of a small thing, like they're just instantly recognizable. They have a great story. They were very cheap when they were launched, right? And they stayed cheap for a long time, like for weeks afterwards. Their floor was like 0.02 ETH. And this was, like during a good time during the, like people knew about NFTs at the time, right? It wasn't like things were pumping. And so, yeah, so I think Cool Cats is definitely, my pick for the year. I think they are PFPs. And then I think for the worst, I don't know why no one's mentioned this, but it has to be Mechaverse, right? Like it feels like it was a scam. Even I don't know, but I don't know much about what happened. But
what's the floor doing on Mechaverse right now?
I don't know, but somehow they are
0.83.
included.
Right.
Yeah, somehow they're included with Coinbase's launch. I just don't understand what was going on there. I don't understand what the community thing is. Maybe I'm completely lost in something has happened, but it just felt very forced on everyone. And it felt like a very big liquidity drain at the time too. So I don't know. To me, that's just like, extremely successful. No idea where the art's coming from. No idea what's going on. I remember them treating some people who did fan art really poorly. So like the whole Mechaverse world is very bad taste in my mouth.
And that volume chart is ugly.
Yes, in the volume chart.
It's just like a rock sinking in the ocean.
Like people made a lot of money because they were selling for like 5, 6 like floors, right? 5, 6, 7 ETH, right? And for no reason. I think they had this could be like opening myself up to, but there was like questions about their Discord and Twitter followings, whether the legitimacy of these sorts of things. So I don't know, just the whole thing kind of put a bad taste in my mouth.
I would tweet negative stuff about Mechaverse and I'd get the occasional response like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I bought it for 3 and sold it for 18. I love Mechaverse.
Yeah, exactly. No one's holding it that loves it though.
No, nobody's holding it. All right, great. Deb, what are your choices?
All right, so purely off of aesthetics, it has to be Doodles and Cool Cats. There's just like an appeal to them. I don't know what it is. The way they're drawn. So if I had to choose between both, from what I'm seeing now, I feel like Doodles is getting a lot of hype. I don't know. I think Doodles look really good. And they take my first place as top PFP project of the year, just purely off of aesthetics. And for the worst, it has to be Fluffs, as Peppa said. For sure, man. It's like the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. Horrible.
All right, so what are your choices?
I think I'm going to have to, although I'm biased, I'm going to have to go with Kongs, obviously, for best profile picture for a few reasons. One, at the time of launch, and then the price of launch was 0.01. I think, I don't think there really was like a secondary profile picture, right, in the NFT community. It was like punks, and then there was a bunch of people with non-punk avatars and like Discords, right? And I think, like Kongs was almost the beginning of that like wave of profile pic drops, right? Like where people, also NFT like enthusiasts, but also like NFT speculators, like thought that was the first time I remember like a profile picture project dropping, and then the floor going like from 0.01 to 1 ETH plus like overnight. And I think that obviously draws quite a bit of interest from speculators. And then I think that kicked off the wave of like, the coming months of like Bored Apes and Cool Cats and so on and so on. So I think Kongs not only has an amazing community, in my opinion, also quite historical in that sense of kicking off this profile picture run beyond punks, which I consider more art than profile picture, both art and profile picture.
It's also the first PFP with a token.
Yeah. I mean, the banana, right? Of course.
Yeah.
How many Kongs Genesis do you have, Plum?
Well, I have 6 left.
I had like Chad.
12 of them at one point. But obviously I was gonna say Kongs, but then Alien Boy got in the way. Like I was gonna pump my bags, okay? But I mean, Kongs is just innovative in many ways. Like I'm really shocked. Like me and Sosa have been really lucky. Because like when we were buying Kongs, it was just literally an OpenSea page. And then the Axie guys in Coco, they took over the project, and then the bananas tokens, and then the baby cons, and then the VX, and then buying land, like massive plus of land in Sandbox. All of these steps turned out to be right, which is pretty insane. Literally went from one OpenSea page to what, in my opinion, the most innovative project of the year.
Doesn't it seem like the VX are underpriced? I mean, if you think about what's happening with mutants right now, and you look at the VX, it just seems
100%.
like that's fair to buy.
100%. I think the market is really underpricing all the vaults.
Sorry, on a side note, this might be some subtle NFT alpha if we're going back into an NFT bull run. Kong's actually just launched a partnership with this project, SolarBots. I think it's still relatively cheap.
Yeah. I bought some SolarBots today.
Yeah, Coco's on the board there.
Yeah, Coco's an advisor. So
just a quick disclaimer: Plum buys a lot of shit, though. He buys everything. So
the SolarBots look kind of cool. I like the page. Yeah. It has a Forgotten Runes look to it. I don't understand what the NFTs look like, but it has a Forgotten Runes kind of cool intro, kind of pixely. I don't know. I like the vibe. I didn't buy any, but I like the vibe.
Yeah, I minted some because I'm definitely just long anything that's CyberKong's related.
Hold out in half an hour.
Any Coco involved. But yeah, it's something I think worth checking out for sure.
Nice, dude.
Oh, you can still mint?
No, minting is closed. It's on secondary.
And they've already...
I'm really happy nobody took my worst profile picture project of the year. Does anybody have any guesses? I mean, I thought it was a slam dunk.
Would Misfit you?
No, Stoner Cats, man. I mean,
God, Stoner Cats. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Man, for sure.
This was so bad for so many reasons. Like if you're Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis and whoever, like, how do you attach your name to this project?
God.
Like, charge this egregious mint price and then just totally I mean, are they even involved anymore? Like, what's happening with this?
There's some conference coming up. I forget which one, and a lot of good people are on the stage, like Eric Snowfro's on it, and then Mila Kunis is on the damn stage as well, like as one of the headliner.
Like, how is this
people.
so bad? Like, there was never a pump at all. It just went straight down.
Well, someone bought the grandma, right? For like 80 ETH or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Can you pull up the highest sells? We're going to see a bunch of grandmas.
Yeah.
That's going to be, this is going to be fun.
They have a real team, right? Like there's people that were involved in crypto and it just got taken over by Ashton Kutcher having Vitalik over for lunch, right?
Look at those beauties.
Oof. Look at that grandma with the weights. 48.5 ETH. Someone paid for that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not so great.
That's
the heaviest.
When was the last
bags?
Oh yeah, when was the last sale? Let's see.
So I do see them. They're active on Twitter still.
29 minutes ago, someone bought one for 0.2.
Wow.
All right. That SOS money burning a hole in their pocket, I guess.
It must be. Man.
All right, that was good. All right, next topic. We did everybody, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do best meme. I'll go first. My favorite meme, you guys probably know, is the guy talking to the girl at the bar. I love that meme. Van, what's your favorite meme?
It's obviously mine for the grifters meme contest, right?
Yeah, remind me which one that was. I saw so many different ones.
I'm totally kidding.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
I do really like recently, and not so much a meme, but the whole beanie copy pasta with the, I'm going to make it my life mission to integrate.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
People started using it for SOS.
Who still has B Gold?
I do not, sir.
I'm holding it to use it for harvest whenever I need to.
I mean, it's worth less than the gas fees to unload it at this point. So
it's good for harvesting. That's the utility.
I hope it doesn't even run out of liquidity for harvesting. And then one of you would have to buy it off me.
Plum, what's your favorite meme?
Like anything Pepe related. I think it's probably the year of the Pepe, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, just like any Pepe meme.
Any Pepe. Okay, just Pepe in general. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. And Zink, how about you?
Well, I always love Pepe Dance. Like just in the Discord. I liked it earlier when we'd be like talking on Twitter in the DMs and they'd be like, okay, got to get Discord because need Pepe dances. I feel like we're going back into a bull run now. We're going to get a lot more of the Pepe dance, Pepe lightsaber. Just need those
money rain.
Yeah, money rain.
That's a good one. I like it. What's your favorite, Deb?
It's the Oscar the Grouch. I think I will cause problems on purpose. I think it's exactly what happened during the bear market, man. Everyone just wanted to pick a fight with anything and everyone, man.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was great. All right, good one. All right, so what's your favorite meme?
I like the Padme and Anakin memes. Those are
Yeah,
Oh,
good
yeah,
one.
that's good.
Nice. All right, and then Pep, did you come up with one?
I think Pepe's is good. I think they're like the universal meme. Other memes come and go, and then we always circle back to the Pepe's. And like you say, there's
True.
multiple times where we've had to go to Discord just so we can use the Rain in Money meme or the Rain in Money Pepe or whatever. So yeah,
It's another language.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all right,
talk.
Pepe's
You
are
can
pretty
probably talk.
amazing.
Which is why I'm so bullish on rare Pepes, man.
I
I
wish
guess
Twitter
that's
would
kinda-
incorporate them in the typing, you know,
Yeah.
so you could use them the way you can in Discord.
It is funny though, like just kind of a little bit more serious, like how many people think these memes are going to be valuable in the future. I understand the argument for what that, buying some culture, but I think it's all going to zero. Like, I don't understand why people would buy this stuff or want to own this stuff, if that makes any sense. So I don't really understand like the meme purchasing. It feels like memes should be free for everyone to use.
You're not talking about Rare Pepe though. You're talking about like
No, Rare Pepe's art, but I mean like these guys that are going, like, not only you had like the actual memes being, that was charity, like people actually buying the memes on Foundation, like that stuff's not getting resold, but like, like people like the original memes that on Reddit and stuff like that. But also like, I don't know, there's people that are building these meme DAOs, like buying memes. I don't really understand the Tungsten Cube. I don't really understand any of this stuff. And I don't see how anyone 5 years from now is going to pay for more than what these people are paying for these things.
I don't really see that either.
But Doge is
I'm totally on board with the meme culture thing. I think the exact opposite. Yeah, I think I'm like totally meme pilled after like being in the whatever, NFT streets and whatnot like the last year. And like even with coins, right? Like I think there's so much significance in like the meme just like memeability in general and like marketing. And I think like the memeability of these like communities, like it's like an aspect of like the like it's the community aspect that I think people want to be involved in, like in like similar way to like a profile picture where like you have in a way, like it's hard to explain with like it would take longer than like the podcast for like the whole
no, I understand what you're saying. I think that some people have tried to take that seriously. Like if you've seen like Path and like fractionalizing these things and getting it into the hands of lots of people, I think there's power in that. And like you can create a meme coin out of that sort of thing, which is decentralized and meme owned. But I don't think you can just buy one meme and just meme and own it as a single NFT and have that maintain. I don't think that's going to turn into like maybe only one or two the memes could possibly kind of transcend that. I think you need the community. Right. You need everyone having a piece of it.
I think it's pretty funny that the NFT economist is arguing no meme and the degenerate is arguing yes meme. Kind of makes sense.
Oh, for sure. Doge pill for sure, yeah.
Where's the fundamentals?
All right, let's move on. The next topic is best follow, meaning the best follow that you have from someone else on Twitter, like the one where you were like super stoked to get. And then the worst follow is like the worst follow you had of someone else where you probably hopefully muted them or like you realize afterwards like they were a total pain in the ass. So I'll go first. My best follow has to be Pussy Riot. They follow me somehow. And I don't know. That was pretty epic for me. I thought that was pretty awesome. And then not to be super mean, but whatever, the worst follow is definitely Art Chick. I muted her. And ever since then, Twitter has been like 100% better for me. All right, Van, you go next.
Yeah, I kind of misunderstood the question initially. I thought it was
okay.
Who we were following, but I can switch it. I was pretty pumped recently when JCal followed me out of the blue. I felt like
that was sick.
Yeah, I thought he was maybe he heard our podcast, and I'm just totally kidding. But
not yet.
Yeah, he's scoping out the competition. But how I initially interpreted it, I was going to say Sartoshi, just pound for pound, funniest account.
Yeah,
worst. Yeah, worst follow. I'm gonna have to say, I like that Art Chick one. Is just I don't know if she can top that one. I had to just unfollow her after a while.
Yeah, dude, she's pretty toxic. She does it on purpose, so I don't feel bad calling it out.
Exactly. I think that's part of her whole. She loves stirring up.
Pep, you have your answers?
Yeah. So it's a bit sad, but X-Copy followed me this year, and I'm sure he follows all of you guys as well. But for me, that was real great to. That's someone I really look up to. So to have him,
for sure.
Even just engaging with him is great. And I think worst follow, any of these kind of entitled artists. I'm not going to dig anyone out by name, but there's been a lot of this in recent days and weeks. Just any artist that's got a sense of entitlement, and maybe they've not done as well as some of the other artists that they would consider peers. So yeah, those are the people I'm kind of muting and unfollowing and just not engaging with, because
yeah, it's interesting to realize, like, once you mute somebody or stop following them, like, how much better your Twitter experience gets.
Yeah.
All right, Zinc, who do you have?
Yeah, well, I like having like XCopy and Coldy and those guys with the follows, because like, they do engage with you too. So it's kind of fun, like when you tweet out something and then you get a response from XCopy or a response from Coldy. It's funny. So I do like those guys. I think my favorite though is still I like 6529, the follow from him, and engaging with him is, I think, one of the smartest people in the space, and kind of has a really long-term look. And so it's fun to be able to have that kind of back and forth. I really like that. In terms of a bad follow, I used to follow for a while, but I don't know. I don't want to start fights or anything yet, but I had to stop following Beanie for just, I found it just to be too, not provocative, but almost to the point where you have to, like, I don't know what the reasons for what he says is, right? I don't find it to be that interesting always. And, he can do whatever he wants. He's an engagement guy and he does really well, but it seemed to be just kind of mean for the sake of being mean most of the time.
Bro, he's the ultimate, like, bottom signal, man. You just do the opposite of what he says and you're fine.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't use anyone on Twitter as a signal for anything, really. I don't find anyone really has any good insight. But some people have good insight on, like, longer term things. Anyone that has any sort of short-term view on the markets, you're never going to be able to follow, because if they're good at it, they have a lot of other things going on that tells them how to switch exactly when. You'll never have that timing. When he's talking about these things, like, maybe he is really good at this kind of flipping, but it's no use following someone for that sort of kind of alpha, because he's going to flip on you before he tells anyone, and then the rest of it's just being mean. And so I don't know. Maybe my cool cat makes me a nice guy. So
all right, good answer. How about Plum?
I gotta go with XCopy, because like when he re-RT'd my like when I bought the Beast and I was tweeting about it, I didn't really have any followers, and I didn't think I would have any followers at all. And after he RT'd that, I got like 500 followers. And that's how I started spending time on Twitter, met you guys and all that. So his follow gets my vote. Worse,
that's so cool.
I don't really know, actually. Like, just like people who are overly ambitious about their bags and clearly have like biased views. I don't mind, it's entertaining sometimes, like Beanie and stuff. It's entertaining. Like, yeah, I don't really have a worst, I guess.
I think that's crazy that that's such a cool answer, that XCopy like got your start on Twitter basically, and he was just like being nice and helping you out because you bought his art. That's so cool.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Dev, how about you?
It was my first my first big follower. It was Gary V. And yeah, man, it was amazing. Once I saw him following me, I'm like, wow. I kind of like made it, even though I didn't make it. And he actually chatted with him for a bit in DMs. It was pretty chill. And my worst follower would be, my worst follow would be all the crypto trading guys. Since January, they kept saying NFTs are going to go to zero, blah, 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 blah. And, like everyone who's been in NFTs have outperformed them all.
But bro, they have 4 monitors.
How badly down are DeFi traders that made fun of NFTs?
I mean, how about Peter McCormick? His Bitcoin. Peter McCormick's made like $0 this year.
Yeah, but those, like, at least Bitcoin's level, like those DeFi charts.
Yeah, oof, yeah. All right, so who you got?
I also interpreted the question like Punk Vandalay. I think my best follower, one of the people I enjoy following the most is Keyboard Monkey. I think he's very entertaining and also has a ton of alpha. Like his style of engagement, I think resonates well with me, because like, during the euphoria, he's someone who's always like, kind of lets you reel it in when you see, like, he's like a good person to point out like different top signals, right? He's usually very, very sharp about that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely appreciate following Keyboard Monkey, and also the fact that he follows me as well is a sick brag. And nice. The worst follow, I think, just these engagement farmers who just say complete nonsense, like just for the sake of people responding to their stupid shit, just provide no value whatsoever, and somehow this gives them like a platform to like dump on like people who don't know any better too, which is doubly bad. So
Yeah, I think KBM is a good example of you can't copy trade him because he'll be FUD, and then the second it switches, he's buying, and then after he buys, he'll tweet about it, but you already missed it. So like you can't follow him and expect to get alpha in that way, even though he's usually right.
Yeah, you definitely can't follow him and like expect to copy trade, right? Like his short-term plays. It's more of like a overall market sentiment when like overall market sentiment takes. I think he is very good at gauging gauging when to fade everybody, you know, like I think he's one of the best at that for sure.
We're a pro KBM podcast for sure. I think we have one more category. It was best role model in the space right now. I'm actually going to say XCopy. I think I don't know him well, but yeah, we follow each other, and so I have messaged with him occasionally, just very superficially, because I don't really have much that I feel like is important enough to say to him. I know that he engages with all of us to some degree, and with I've never seen him kind of like make a wrong move. His art is awesome, but art is subjective. But just the way he like how professional he is, how much he's advanced the space. He seems to do everything right. Like the way he does his drops, the way he treats his collectors, the way he tweets. He's just a fucking solid dude. And I can't think of anyone who's done more for the space than him.
No, love that pick. X is, he's great in every way. My pick will be 6529. I think, he writes the longest threads possible on Twitter, but, each one is a must read. They're great to forward off to, folks that aren't familiar with the space. You can, onboard others with these threads. So I think he's doing a lot, to making sure that we have new folks entering our space and understanding our culture. So yeah, my vote goes to 6529.
Yeah, it's a great pick as well. I definitely agree. All right, Pep, who do you have?
I'm going to go for a slightly different one just because I guessed everyone else was going to go for really well-known artists or thinkers. I'm going to go for Lonely Boy, Chill Tupac, just because he's like the poster child for making it for me. Like seeing that kids come up from at the start of the year, just DMing like all of us and one another, and just seeing how he's grinded and made relationships and made friendships and been a champion for, particularly on Tezos, obviously on Hen, but as a role model, as someone that new people can come in and kind of look up to as what you can achieve in a short space of time. I think Lonely deserves a lot of credit. Yeah,
it's an awesome pick. Yeah, he's definitely inspiring. I had a while back someone reached out to me and said, hey, I need some advice on Tezos art, right when that was kind of starting. And I said, you're asking the wrong person, but I know who you can ask, and I put him in touch with Lonely. And then like a week later, he was like, oh my God, like that guy's amazing. Like he knows everything about the whole market there.
Exactly. I've made him, he's been a recommendation to multiple people that have asked me, right, how do I get in? I've not got much money, but I want to start collecting. What should I do? And I'm like, right, get a Tezos wallet and then follow this guy. and that's where you start.
All right, Zink, who do you have?
I think for me, it's Snowfro. So obviously his platforms made me tons of money. So I'm pretty happy about that. But also I think just having a vision early in the space without really having anyone care about what he was doing. So not only was he, working in NFTs before, I think, he was obviously in the NFT community stuff, but, when the platform launched, it wasn't really a big thing, NFT still. It was like back in November. And then, generative art has almost no take up even in the traditional art world, let alone, in something like NFTs. And so, to have that kind of foresight to think that this is something that makes perfect sense in NFTs and going to create an entirely new market that didn't even exist really outside of it, and then to turn it to something where, there's some crazy numbers, right? Like you have Dimitri having it's the highest living art, the highest sale for living Canadian artists. Like this is happening in like 6 months from the launch of the platform. On top of all that, he gets probably the most flack. People, for some reason, even after everything, I'm sure I've voiced some criticisms too, but there's people give the most flack in terms of the Art Blocks platform, attacking it all the time and, attacking his vision, which he's been pretty consistent about all this time and still just very kind, always very, very kind of just continues doing his thing and has a vision for what that's going to be forward. So just in the face of all that criticism, just kind of executing what he wants to do, you got to respect that as well. So for me, it just seems like this is exactly what Web3 is all about, creating something new and then executing it. And, no matter what other people want to say about it, you still have control. So, you do you.
Yeah, it's a great pick. I love Snowfro. He's such an awesome dude. He's actually one of my oldest NFT friends. All right, Plum, who you got?
I agree with what you said about Xcopy and OG artists. They're great examples. But actually, I'm thinking I'm going to go with Token Angels because I think he's a great collector. Like from a collector's point of view, like I really see him as a great example. And turns out I also bought my first NFT from him. My first punk was from him. And anyway, I just think he's a good collector. He paid like a record price for that one-of-one Homer Pepe a couple years ago, his great conviction, and he just hold out the X copies, this incredible collection, and long-term investor, great taste, and also very low key, so that's my pick.
Yeah, nice pick. Yeah, I've watched that guy make amazing buys way before anyone else sees it, and he always seems to kind of spend too much at the time, and then later you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you bought that when you did.
We talked about that before. Yeah. He's willing to pay for the right piece, and that's like what you gotta do as a collector. Just take that first step, All
right, Deb, how about you?
First of all, I'd like to say I totally agree with Pep about Lonely, because he's like totally in this, like for just for the art. It's like he lives and breathes art. But if I had to pick someone, it would be Barak Krimo, because he's totally humble. He answers your questions when you DM him. He's just like a super nice guy. He never gets into fights. He's just like a super humble guy, and he's like a super massive whale. So I have total respect for him.
That's so cool. These answers are all so good. Like all these people are so awesome. All right, so who you have?
A role model as far as a collector that I admire. Yeah, of course, friend of the pod. I mean, as far as like Plum was saying, I have a lot of respect for people that have the ability to set forth their conviction with their wallets, like when it's a bit unclear, and it could you could be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on something that may go to zero, and when that conviction is rewarded, that's pretty cool to see. And for my supplementary answer, I wanted to say another great role model in the space is our boy Deb. Someone who is just the kindest person. I mean, just treats everybody, whether you have a profile picture that's worth 0.0069 ETH or 690 ETH. He's, just when you talk about humility and treating everybody the same with tons of respect, and like just being a great advocate for the community, and like just using your influence to just do whatever you can to genuinely help people and genuinely point them in the right direction. I think that's super admirable.
Did you say Deb?
That's you, yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I said you.
Oh, man, I was like, wow.
I mean, you're a big part of why we're all together, so, right. Like, so, I mean,
true.
I can speak for myself here, but, the reason why I'm here is because it started with a DM about, some nonsense, right? And you were nice enough to answer my question, and here we are now. So
thank you, I appreciate it, man. And we're all making it somehow.
Same for me actually. Deb, yeah.
I didn't want to mention any of you guys, but I could easily have done so. I think you've all had a big influence on me in a different way. Like Deb is the glue that kind of binds us all together in a way. Without no one, I wouldn't be as where I was as well. We've had some seriously deep DM conversations, and he's pulled me through some difficult times earlier in the year and stuff. So yeah, all of you guys, I didn't want to blow smoke as far as fellow podcast hosts.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to no one. Yeah, shout out to no one who isn't here tonight, but he'll join us one of these days.
Can't wait for that, man. Hey, do you mind if I ask a question? Do you mind if I ask a question for the podcast? So it's coming to the end of the year now, right? So this is gonna be our last podcast for 2021.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know your predictions for December 27, 2022, about the NFT market, about crypto in general, about what we're gonna be seeing more in the crypto space.
Oh damn, we should maybe finish on some floor price predictions for December 27th of 2022.
Definitely. Let's do it.
All right. All right, somebody go first.
I think we're going to see massive growth.
Well, I like that from The Economist. That makes me feel good.
I think we're going to be in a bear market, man. Yeah, December.
Of course you do, dude. Fuck you.
We're gonna be
And we're all going to be paying our taxes.
Well, that's actually the best sign that saying we're going to be in a bear market.
Oh, for real, I think we're going to see ETH at about 2.5K, Bitcoin at 25K.
Yo, I got a Fidenza for sale. Huh?
What will be the number one project, though? That's what we should... Will it be a project that exists now, or will it be a project that will be created in 2022?
Do you mean by volume for the whole year, or what do you mean by number one?
Yeah, I would say like floor price of a reasonable size collection.
I would say
CryptoPunks,
and I'm going to say it's going to be $1 million floor.
Oh, come on.
I totally agree with you, man.
Very awesome.
I think it will be a new project. A project will not be released until maybe even June.
And why would that be? Like, what would be so special? Like, is there anything that you're looking for in a project that would create this massive influx of capital or investments?
Mostly going to be because the space itself is going to grow so much, and whatever this project is going to tap into all of the new people that enter. So there'll be like some extent. I don't necessarily think everything's going to be structured the same way as things are now. So maybe floor price is not the right thing, but some sort of market cap level. I still think that like there'll be something new that will come in that will onboard rich retail.
I could see that happening, but there's no way. I don't think the floor price would be that high. I think it would be the market cap. So it'd be way, way, way more than 10,000. And I could definitely see some huge project coming in and blowing up, but maybe the floor price is, half an ETH or something, but there's enough of a
maybe
total market cap where it's more.
I'm more bullish than on that, but
yeah, I think if Pokemon makes an NFT, it's game over, man. Game over.
Yeah, they do need to make one.
Punks, it takes over everything. They won, man.
So here would be an amazing drop. Pokemon NFT, but it's based on your current Pokemon level and on the app or whatever. The actual Pokemon game.
Yes, the Pokemon Go game.
Yeah. On that subject, I read something earlier where some company is doing location-based NFTs where you can only claim certain NFTs when you go to that location. I can see that working with Pokemon. Like that's like perfect for it.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
It is kind of cool. Kind of like Crypto Venetians, but a little different.
Exactly.
Like NFT passport of sorts.
You got Marvel too.
Yeah.
Can I give my hot take or my bold prediction?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think Punks will be 2x Apes floor, at least.
Boom.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, that was a great discussion. We're going to wrap it up. It's been an awesome year, and it's really been great to get to know all of you guys. We've been in DMs for almost the whole year now, pretty much every day, maybe even every hour. I'm awake during the day talking shit about NFTs, and it's been awesome. And super excited about the podcast for next year. And we'll come out with episode 4 early in January. So see you guys then.
All right, ciao, guys. Happy New Year.
Later, guys. See you guys next year.
All right, later, guys.
Happy New Year.